Hello and welcome back to Ollie Talks Airsoft. Today's video is actually inspired by a comment that someone left literally minutes ago, and I thought, actually, you know what, this is a really important topic and this is something we should probably cover off. So what we're talking about today is inner barrels and why I use certain inner barrels and not others, and what you want to probably think about with regard to the inner barrels and what they give you, like what's the point in actually doing it. So I'm going to start off by saying, actually, in this particular gun here, I've got a 250mm Maple Leaf Crazy Jet, which is a 6.04mm internal diameter. Now, you can get tight bore barrels that go down to, I think, all the way down to 6mm, because actually, despite the fact that we refer to BBs as being 6mm, they're actually 5.95 or thereabouts. And so what you're actually doing is, if you're going to reduce the inner diameter of whichever barrel you're using, so for example, I think stock Tokyo Marui barrels come in at 6.04 or 6.05, somewhere around there. That's actually a really good working internal diameter for a barrel, because what you want to, or what I want to do when I'm taking my guns out, is I want to allow for a little bit of dirt, a little bit of grit to be in that system, and the system not to stop working and not to malfunction. So while I could switch this out to a 6mm inner barrel, and that would do a few things. So when we're talking reducing the internal diameter of an inner barrel, what you're actually going to do is increase the accuracy of your weapon, because ultimately you've got a tube that it's going to fire out of, and it's going to, if you were to look down an inner barrel, that's the area in which that BB is going to land. If you reduce that, it's obviously going to reduce the area. And what you tend to find, and I've found this in the past, I've gone down to 6.03mm inner barrels, and I have seen some accuracy improvements. I only have one gun that's got a 6.02mm, and that was a gun that I purchased with already upgraded parts in it, and that's a high capper. So that's a gun that I actually tend not to take out particularly, and it tends to be more of a range gun. And the reason that I don't take it out is because I know that actually with that tighter internal diameter, if any dirt or grit gets into the system, then it's more likely to stop functioning. And if I'm actually in game, then that's probably going to get me shot. So I don't really want to do that. So as far as like getting some practical accuracy out of your system, probably the tightest I would really go would be a 6.03, because you are just allowing for that little bit of, you know, obviously you're not going to put dirt into your system intentionally. Nobody does that, but it still happens. You know, you're allowing for external factors to come into play, because, you know, we play outside, we play indoors. You know, there can be a cobweb that just gets caught up in your gun, and or something, you know, it could be anything, a leaf, a bit of grit, a bit of dirt. But if it gets into the inner barrel and you've got a really tight bore, then that's going to cause a blockage. It's going to stop the gun from functioning properly. You can get BBs caught, you're going to get misfeeds and things like that. So as much as you may be tempted by the improvements that you're going to see in accuracy, and also the minor improvement that you're going to see in FPS, that's pretty much all it's going to do. You're not going to see an increase in range, because that's really down to your hop-up rubber. So the only increase in range that you would see would be because the FPS has increased a tiny bit. So, you know, it's not actually because of that tighter diameter that you're getting it. You can also obviously increase the length. And obviously if you increase the length of your inner barrel, that's also going to have the same effect. It's going to increase the accuracy of your weapon. So, and it's also going to increase the FPS at the same time. So you've got a few things to consider, but what I would say is that there is a balance to be struck with every airsoft gun. And when you're using a gas gun, you're automatically pumping, you know, gas and usually some silicone oil down the barrel with the BB. So it's naturally going to pick up a little bit more dirt than, for example, like an AEG or something like that. So it's just something to be aware of. Like if you have had, you know, a DSG or an HPA setup, well, does your bolt do that? Because dirt can get into that hole, and in reality, which is where we all live, that's going to cause problems. And so, you know, on an AEG, you can be, you know, pulling the trigger all day long, and this dust cover doesn't open up. You know, nothing in the system opens up. The only chance that you've got to, you know, introduce dirt into the system is when you put a mag in, you know. And I've done it before. I've dropped a mag with BBs, and it's gone into the mud and it's gone into the dirt, and I've basically wiped it off, given it a blow, quite loud, put it in the gun and just shot. And it hasn't actually caused a malfunction. The BBs have fed. I shot through the dirt, and I don't even think twice about it, you know. And that's because, you know, well, I can't say that it's definitely because of the inner barrel. That, you know, that particular situation, which has happened a couple of times, who knows? If there was a 6mm barrel, it might have still shot through it. It may not have been enough dirt that I introduced to stop it. But I just didn't want to have that. I didn't want to risk it. Why risk it when actually the accuracy that you get from, you know, for example, a stock MWS is excellent. You know, it's really good. So you're only like getting very small improvements when you start to reduce that inner diameter, but it is going to cause more problems. You know, you're going to have to make sure that all the BBs that you feed through it are like premium quality. So if you're currently using some sort of like middle of the road BBs, which I don't suggest, you know, you should always be using high quality. But say you are using middle of the road, you're actually going to have to step up. So not only if you go down to a 6mm barrel, are you going to have to, you know, pay for that barrel, install it, and do all the other bits. You're also going to have to like make sure that the ammo that you're putting through the gun is like the highest quality that you can possibly get. And again, that's to try and stop the gun from malfunctioning. So actually having a little bit of looseness, having a little bit of a gap, that's not actually a bad thing. And I'm really happy with the range and the accuracy that I get out of all my guns. And the tightest, as I said, that I ever choose to go is 6.03. And yeah, it seems to be a good middle ground for me. I've not had experience yet with wide bores, so like the auger wide bores and things like that, but I do want to. I really want to give them a go. I'm not made of money though, so I can't try everything. At the moment, all of these guns are functioning as I really want, and there's no kind of internal upgrades that I'm looking to do. So I'm not going to be testing any other barrels, but I can give you some information about like the ones that I've done, and I've kind of covered off in previous videos where I've talked about this MWS and the other two that I use as well. And in those videos, I've gone over the inner barrel setups and the hop setups. However, I do actually need to dig into both of those rifles at some point, so I will be putting that to video. So that's going to be coming up. But anyway, thanks for your time today, and thank you so much to the person that asked the question as well, because it's a really important it's an important question, and it's something that, yeah, especially if you're a bit newer to gas blowbacks and things like that, you might be used to just going, well, you want to go as tight as possible on an AEG, but yeah, don't forget we're running an imperfect world here, and you want that gun to keep going, even with some like minor discrepancies in what's actually getting fed through it. So yeah, that's it. All right, thanks very much for your time, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.